Good morning, everyone. Enter the stars. And I thought it'd be a good idea to get caught up on some of these headlines. They begin to pile up. And so we got to get through some of these headlines because things are happening fast and furious. Now, it appears to me at this point that the controllers are shifting gears. Now, we can't rest on our laurels with this, but understand that things are changing and they are pivoting off of this whole VidCo 19 thing. We've got England that has basically planning to revoke the mandatory Pokemon stickers for health workers. And we've also got Canada backing down off of these taxes that they were going to impose on people who did not get the sticker. So things are changing. And now I don't know how all this is going to shake out, but be ready for the next phase of whatever they have planned. These people rarely let go of their power. They rarely concede anything. They simply pivot their resources and power to other places so that they can maintain control. Now, here's what's going on in London. They're saying that the British government plans to revoke its decision to make VidCo 19 stickers mandatory. The policy would have required employees in the state-run National Health Service and social care workers to be fully Pokemon stickered by April 1st. Now, of course, that's April Fool's Day, another indicator that, these people are just toying with us, gaslighting us at every turn. Here's our next story from The Telegraph. This is the same story. So basically, NHS is backing down. This is for social care workers in the UK. So everything is starting to go in reverse. But there is what is called the Smackcine. We're going to call it the Smackcine because we're all getting smacked upside the head with it. Divide. And now they're further dividing people. Now, even the people that have the Smackcine, they feel like they have to divide again and talk about their sentiment, because some people that got the Smackcine are completely comfortable with the decision they made and feel protected and are trying to go about their lives, but others are still in fear and denial. And so what you have here is a divide. Now, this particular article talks about 70% of Americans say it's time to accept VidCo and move on with our lives. So they're dividing by 70 and 30%, while others are still obsessed with it. It says here, of those who report having VidCo, 78% agree with the statement that it's time to accept VidCo and move on with our lives. Despite this readiness to move past VidCo, some people remain concerned. So here's the divide. 62% of Americans said that they were concerned about someone in their family becoming ill. So the Smackcines didn't do what they were promised to do. They didn't give people the comfort that they promised and the assurance that they could be protected. So what's the whole thing for then anyways? Let's get into this next story. Workers' comp bill for Smackcine injuries heads to the House. Now, this is out of Idaho. This is an interesting development that they are trying to pass this bill that would pay people who believed that they were injured by the Smackcine. Now, as far as I know, there aren't any other states looking into this, but let's read a little bit about what's going on in Boise, Idaho. Employees injured by the Smackcine would be eligible for workers' comp payments under the legislation that advanced to the House floor Monday. House Bill 464. Idaho employees can already receive compensation for injuries related to workplace Smackcines. And so this is happening, he said. We have a lot of these different claims. So there's a bunch of claims starting to stack up. And people in Idaho looks like they might get some kind of payout if they got the Smackcine. Now, in my opinion, no amount of money can compensate you for your health. And many times what you have is people, thinking that money's going to fix everything when some of these things are lifelong problems. So don't go get the Smackcine hoping you're going to get injured so you can get a payout, because your health is priceless. And I pulled up this crazy story. Thought you guys would get a kick out of this. This plane in London had to abort the landing due to high winds. Let's take a look at this crazy footage here. Let's wind this back here. So it came down and watched the wind take this plane up, and it almost does a nosedive. It touched down there, and all of a sudden this big gust of wind comes up and blows it sideways. Look at that. It almost rolled over. Now, if some of you follow the Facebook video feeds, I do sometimes to get, to see what's going on in the world. But basically, they show a lot of these and they're not real. It's like some kind of computer generation. But this was a very real video of what's going on with some of these high winds in London. It's our next story here. Florida and California consider changes that could decimate the rooftop solar market. Now, we've talked a little bit about this, how they're trying to do away with net metering or reduce it dramatically. In other words, you put these solar panels on your house and you're expecting to get a certain amount of money back because you're feeding energy into the grid that's being shared with everybody. And up to this point, it was a good deal. But now they're trying to cut this down by like 80% of what you get back. So now it's going to take you longer to pay off your solar panels. They're also charging a surcharge to even use the grid if you have solar panels. California's talking about almost $60 a month. And that goes basically to the overall grid and helps other people get solar power on your dime. Well, Florida is joining. And sometimes, Florida's a very free state, but sometimes they do things that don't make any sense. Like when they pass that legislation that they could, if they wanted to, force you to get a Pokemon sticker. And now this, it makes no sense. So here's what they're saying. They're saying they're basically going to go in and, basically get their money back for this net metering and pull all of the reimbursements and all this stuff that you would have got normally by buying into this grid. Now, they're saying here these solar systems start at about 15 grand and go up from there. That's without any batteries to store your energy. You can add another 5 or 10 grand for batteries. But I'm thinking, look, if this is what you're going to have to deal with, just get the batteries up front and allow, and these controllers should allow people to stay off the grid even though they're in the middle of the grid. So let people store their own power and energy. I think, with what people are dealing with now, with how they're trying to pivot off of this, giving people money back, then I think a lot of people would agree, wow, I should have just got batteries in the first place, use my own energy. So this is what's going on now in Florida as well. What else do we have going on here? Well, British trial deliberately infecting young adults with Vidco found to be safe. Now, this is the kind of stuff that makes me laugh. So they actually did a study, and it's funny because we were talking about this. We're like, wow, if Vidco is so scary, why are they doing studies deliberately infecting people? They're telling us, oh, this is nothing to joke about. If you get it, you could die. And there's a very high likelihood you could die, when in fact the opposite was true. Well, they're doing this study because what they're trying to do is find a cure for HIV, AIDS. And they're using this technology to try to, figure out how to do this. Now, we all knew that the two were connected because they're both immune types of illnesses. We knew this was all connected because of their little games and their little bioweapons that they work on and all their little experiments that they've been doing. And this is why they had to drag Slouchy out, because it's all connected. He was the HIV guy from the 80s, wasn't he? Well, here we have this British trial, and now they did they did a study basically saying that it's safe to infect people with Vidco, to study it. I mean, how ridiculous is this? These people can do a study on anything they want and say whatever they want because they control the study. The world's first human challenge trial in which volunteers were deliberately exposed to Vidco to advance research into the disease was found to be safe in healthy young adults. The data supports the safety of this model and could lay the groundwork for future studies to test new Smackcines against Vidco-19. Open Orphan is running the project. Yeah, they're probably making a bunch of orphans. So, don't believe the hype. Here's what's going on in Denver. dropping the mask or proof of sticker requirement, claiming that Omicron has run out of fuel. Denver's mask or proof requirement to enter businesses is set to expire. So people are starting to back the car out of the garage. Now, here you have Pentagon Chief Lloyd Austin. Still, pedal to the metal, rejecting 7 governors' pleas to exempt the National Guard troops from the sticker requirement. We've also got the Army immediately discharging anyone who refuses the Smackcine. So the military is going hard on this. They are not going to back down. 3,300 service members from the Army at risk of being thrown out. Now, we postulated about this, why this is happening. This is a military downsizing. Make no mistake. What better way to separate the sheep from the goats in the military than to throw out an arbitrary rule, knowing that it's going to divide people, and then draw the line in the sand. And then at that point, people will just be discharged. And by discharging them, they can pull some of their, some of their benefits. Let's read about this. The Army's announcement makes it the final military service to lay out this discharge policy for Smackcine refusers. Marine Corps, Air Force, and Navy have already discharged active duty troops or entry level personnel at boot camps for refusing the Pokemon sticker. So far, the Army has not discharged any. According to the data released by the Army last week, more than 3,300, of course it's 3,300 soldiers, right, have refused to get the Smackcine because they're slacking, right? The Army has said that more than 3,000 soldiers have been issued official written reprimands, which suggests that they're already identified in disciplinary process. So instead of them being rewarded for their service or their desire to serve, they're in the middle of a disciplinary process, will be discharged, which means some or most of their benefits could be cut, saving the government probably tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars, possibly into the billions, because you got to pay out all these benefits to these people. This is a military downsizing. Now, why is this happening? Well, people's eyes are opening, and they're starting to realize that all world governments are basically one world government. There is really no difference. And people aren't buying the threats anymore because the threats have been going on between countries now for decades without any real conflict. All you have is people jockeying for position, holding on to different countries, all this covert action going on, civil wars and things that are fake. And people know that China is no longer our enemy and Russia is no longer our enemy. They can't even get people to sign up for the military anymore because people are awake to the deception. It's all smoke and mirrors. Now, the people that believe that there's actually a real conflict, simply just look at who we trade with. China is our hugest trading partner. They're not going to walk away from all that money just to start a war. So this is a military downsizing. Make no mistake. And what can you do not to play the game? Well, I wouldn't be signing up for the military to begin with. And so maybe this downsizing is a good thing because at least these people will no longer be pawns and no longer be used for a bunch of lies. So that's an update on the headlines. This video will go up on Sunday morning. I'll let you guys sleep in a little bit. And hopefully I'll be in the chat with you guys as this airs on Sunday morning. I love each and every one of you. Have a great day, you guys. Take care and be safe.